Hello, everybody. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Each and every day, we run down the latest and greatest in sports news, and I am your host to try and keep it all together, if I can keep myself together. So we're going to talk about some things. Charles Barkley had an interview with Nick Saban that I thought was interesting, and Nick Saban, They did touch on some suspension stuff. You know, Nick Saban gets criticized, I think, fairly heavily. I've been a critic of it, too, about giving guys second chances despite the fact that they've done pretty terrible stuff. And I've always accused Nick Saban of saying, like, this is what I say about it. If you didn't believe that what someone did was that bad, then okay, don't suspend them. But if we agree that what they've done is pretty terrible, pretty boneheaded, you got to punish that kid. And yes, you got to take away football. Nick Saban would disagree. So yeah, I'll let him speak for himself. We've got the audio of the interview. Charles Barkley, pretty good interview. Pretty good interviewer for a couple of reasons, I imagine. One, because he's Charles flipping Barkley, and two, Charles Barkley, he's got a way with people. He's a friendly guy. He's a really nice guy, and I don't think I've ever seen Nick Saban this at ease talking to anybody. So we've got that. We've got a new segment to the show every day from now until I run out of SEC schools. We're going to do a why your team stinks. Why does your team stink this season? Why will they not win the SEC? And we're going to start with the team that I think is the worst, and every day march our way up until we get to the best of the worst, presumably. We're just going to run out of teams is really what it is. But before we do all of that, let me introduce you to our social media platforms. You can find Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio in the search bar with the first thing that comes up. If you would like to go to our website, hotnewstalkradio.com, you can get to all the social media links from there. Simply click on the one that you most want to use at that particular moment. You can stream all of our programming on hotnewstalkradio.com, and you can stream us on our Facebook page as well. We've got a little radio plugin. If you click on the plugin, comes up on the side of the page there, or you can click at it at the top near the photos button. You can get to hotnewstalkradio.com that way. You can get to hotnewstalkradio.com as well on the TuneIn Radio app, which is absolutely free in your favorite app store. That's hotnewstalkradio.com. So there you go. Hot News Talk Radio. I don't know how many more times I can say the name of the station, but Hot News Talk Radio it rolls off of the tongue. So I was driving over to the station today, and there was a guy that was just speeding in and out of lanes like some kind of crazed Yahoo. And I have a problem with it. I have a problem with people driving terribly on the road. Do not drive terribly on the road with me. I do not appreciate it. But the thing about it was, Buddy wasn't even in a good car. Like, he was not in a great car. He wasn't in a Corvette. He wasn't in, I don't know, a really nice, he wasn't in an Audi R8 or a BMW, the S-Class, one of those. He wasn't in a nice car. Dude was in a Fiat. I'm sorry. Stop it. You cannot do that in Chattanooga. Race in and out of the lanes in a Fiat. You should be ashamed of yourself. You, sir, whatever your name is that drives the orange Fiat, shame on you for driving like a clown. Like, I just don't understand some people on the road, but more specifically, I don't understand that guy on the road driving like he's Speed Racer in a Fiat. I mean, what? I mean, like, know who you are. Know your limitations. Know your limitations. That's all I'm saying. All right. So let's jump into this Nick Saban interview with Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley got right to the point with Nick Saban. Asked Nick Saban about the suspensions. Granted that Charles kind of buttered him up a little bit first and softballed the question, but he did get Nick to address it. Question went like this:
You know, when I brag about you to Auburn people, they go crazy. And they always say why. I said, well, number one is winning. But the one thing I want to say to you as a black man, I really respect when you give other young black men an opportunity after they've screwed up. Because I always tell people, everybody's an idiot when they're 18. Young kids are going to make mistakes. But as a black man, I just want to say thank you for giving these young black guys an opportunity. And I know you have taken some heat, and I thought it was unfair because we don't need to just throw kids away when they do something stupid. But why do you feel that need to give kids a second chance?
Well, I think that, look, as a coach, when it comes to football players, we're trying to change their behavior and make them better. Mm-hmm. As people, we're trying to change their behavior and make them better. And I think everybody can understand, if they ever have children of their own, how your children sometimes disappoint you. They do things that you wish they didn't do, that embarrass you. But we don't throw them out of the house. You know, we try to come up with ways that we can change their behavior. So that's where I always focus on the guys, where I think a lot of people see discipline as punishment. And they want punitive action, you know, kick the guy off the team. How does that change his behavior? Yeah. You know, suspend him for a bunch of games. Well, he did something in March. Now we're going to suspend him for games in September. Mm. I mean, where there's a lot of things that you can do in between to help a guy understand or change his behavior. Mm. And I've had a lot more success helping guys by doing that than just being punitive. Yeah. Right now, what people in the media sometimes think is, well, you just don't want to suspend him because he's a good player. Well, that's not true, because I do that with every player on our team. Okay. Right? And sometimes when guys do things and it happens over and over and over, maybe you have to take playing away from them. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's meaningful to them, and that's the only thing that will change their behavior. But I don't think that's always the first step. Okay. And most of our players respond very well to it and appreciate it.
So that's Nick Saban talking about suspending guys who have gotten into trouble, who've done knuckleheaded things. And look, I agree with Chuck. When you're 18 years old, you're an idiot. You're hardwired as an 18-year-old male to just be an idiot. If you are an 18-year-old guy right now listening to the show, feeling offended, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. You're going to look back on your 18-year-old year and your 19-year-old year and go, what was I doing? You're going to. Everybody goes through it. I did it too. Like, I look back at myself at 18, and I wasn't even a crazy kid. I was just a knucklehead, as we all are. You know, you cannot help it. Cannot help it. So, like, should guys just be kicked off the team for doing knuckleheaded 18-year-old stuff? No, they should not. I don't think that just every situation calls for, as Nick Saban put it, punitive punishment. But hey, look, there are some things that you can do to get kicked off of a football team. Playing football is a privilege, not a right. Not a right. Nick Saban compared it to you having a kid, and if you had a kid, if your kid does something that disappoints you, would you kick your kid out of the house? Well, no, because that kid has a right to shelter. Living in a home is a right. Playing football is a privilege. Not everybody gets to play football. And if you can't behave yourself in a manner that makes any sense, you don't deserve to play football. You don't. You know, you get caught in a car with a bunch of weed and some guns, one of which is not registered, and you know that's against the laws of the state, and you know that that's against the rules of your university, it's not asking too much to ask that you be suspended some games. That's not asking too much. And yes, taking football away from guys will work because that's what you want to do. You're happiest when you're playing football. If someone told me that they were going to punish me when I did things wrong, when I did something wrong, and they were going to punish me by taking away radio from me, you better believe I'd fly right. You better believe it. Like I used to, well, not I used to. I also host a radio show at Chattanooga State every Monday. Okay, so after this show, actually. And one thing that I know is I messed up on the air. I messed up on the air doing that show. Okay, that show does not take live calls. It's against their rules. You do not take live calls. I took a live call. Because I love talk radio. That's just been something that I've loved my entire life. I love talk radio, and I wanted to take a live call. I had never done it before. This is like a year and a half ago. I took a live call, and the program director threatened to shut me down, threatened to kick me off the air. And you know what? He was well within his rights to do that. And because the threat was something I love to do, it meant something to me. Same thing happens when I was in high school. In high school, I would play hooky a little bit. Sorry, Mom. I would play hooky just a little bit. And there was a point where I was told I would be kicked off of the newspaper club if I did not go to class. I started going to class because I liked writing and I liked being in newspaper and I liked covering sports. You threaten to take that away from me? Yeah, I'll fly right. Of course, if you threaten to take away football from a guy who loves to play football, from a guy who's like 6'5", 220, designed to play football, right? Like designed to be a left tackle. Yeah, it's going to work. It will work. I don't think that that's ridiculous for the media to say at all. I don't think you kick everybody off the team. But there are just some people that if you do, there are certain things that you can do, right? You put your hands on a woman, you can do that and get kicked off a football team. No exceptions. Do not do it. I don't think that's unfair. That was Spurrier's rule. Steve Spurrier would not allow it. You put your hands on a woman, you hit a woman, you're off the team. You're finished. And I think that's a good, hard, and fast rule. There's some things that we don't try and rehabilitate with football. There's some things that you do, right? Like the guys at Georgia and the guys at Florida that damaged their room with the BB guns. They're just stupid. And they're just stupid because they're 18, 19 years old. All right? They're not malicious. They don't have it out for the university. They didn't just say, hey, I hate this dorm room and just start firing away. They were playing around with BB guns, which is a thing that kids do. And they're kids. I mean, we see these guys. They're huge. They're enormous. And we forget they're kids. They're absolutely kids. So no, I disagree with Saban on that point. I just don't think that everything should be a punitive, hey, you messed up, you're off the team. You messed up, I'm taking games away from you. But yeah, if you do certain things that are stupid, suspensions do work, and you have to ask, like, is this guy really being held accountable in the same way that somebody else is being held accountable because he's really, really good at football and will help you win, especially in a season like this season where you are losing a lot of starters to the NFL, and you kind of have to start that rebuilding process of getting your guys to be really, really good again. Right? That seems to be an issue. And I don't buy that Nick Saban is all about just rehabilitating guys as sort of the pro bono work of being a football head coach. That nobody's that generous. Nobody's that generous. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Charles Barkley caught up with Nick Saban, courtesy of AL.com, and was able to ask Nick Saban some questions. Charles Barkley, as you know, played in the SEC. He played for Auburn. He played basketball down here. And he's a huge, huge Nick Saban fan. And he asked Nick Saban about shooting some hoops. This is what Saban had to say.
You said something earlier. You play basketball?
Yes, sir.
How often?
Well, we play from signing date until we start spring practice.
So you play a lot.
We play pickup at least 3 days a week. But I'm the commissioner of the league now. You know, at my age, I get to pick my team.
Uh-huh.
And then I pick the guy on the other team who guards me. So
which probably would be now as big and fat as I am.
No, you'd be on my team.
Oh, okay. Do you pass the ball?
Absolutely. I play the point. When Avery came here, you know, I know he played 13 years as a point guard, but when he came in, I said, look, if you want to play noontime basketball with us, you're going to have to move over off the ball because I'm the point guard. You're going to have to play two guard.
So you're just a passing guy. You're not a three-point shooter.
They didn't have a three-point shot when I played.
They have it now.
Yeah, but I can't shoot it. I mean, I grew up playing where you got to get a good shot.
What if somebody takes a hard foul on Coach Saban?
Well, most of the guys I'm playing with work for me. So you could get fired.
Is that what happened to Kirby Smart?
Hey, Kirby was always on my team.
Oh, okay.
Kirby could shoot.
Oh, okay. Hey, Coach, thank you for taking your time.
All right, Charles.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
That is my favorite Nick Saban audio of all time. Nick Saban talking about noontime basketball games that he's played in. That Nick Saban is the commissioner of noontime basketball at Alabama. And Nick Saban chooses who guards him. Which, how bad do you feel? Like, if you were on a team and you're on the other side and Nick Saban looks at you and goes, you know what? That's the guy that's going to guard me. I don't think he can play any defense. I think that guy's going to guard me. Nick Saban's in his 60s now. Nick Saban's a grandpa, an actual grandpa. How bad do you feel if Nick Saban looks at you and goes, yeah, you're the one that's guarding me? How awful do you feel? I mean, you just have to feel terrible, right? Nick Saban picked you out of a lineup of 5 dudes and said, you're the one that I think is not capable of guarding a 60-year-old man as good as the other people on your team. Ow. Ow. Also, how about Nick Saban? I liked in the interview that long pause. There's a long pause there between Nick Saban when Charles asks Nick Saban, what happens if someone takes a hard foul on Nick Saban? And Nick Saban said, you know what? Actually, everybody here works for me. You really don't want to take a hard foul on Nick Saban. You might want to reconsider that one. If Nick Saban is open for a shot and the only way to stop him from scoring is to foul him, you just go ahead and let him score that shot. It's like when Justin Bieber used to release all of those videos of him playing basketball, and it was always him owning one of the guys in his crew, just absolutely crossing that guy up, and then he would just stare down the camera after his horrible basketball. Yeah, you know that guy let you score, right? Nobody wants to be the guy that makes you look bad. That's a really good way to find yourself on the outside of the crew. And while there's not a ton of pride to be had in being in Justin Bieber's crew, I imagine there are plenty of perks to being in Justin Bieber's crew. You don't want to be outside the crew over some basketball. You swallow your pride. You let that guy score on you. You just let him do it. That's Nick Saban. There's plenty of reasons to continue to work for Nick Saban. I imagine that's a pretty cushy job. I imagine that just not having to relocate and move your family to coach somewhere else because you work for Nick Saban. Don't foul him. You know better. Let's listen to that again. I love that pause when Charles asks Nick, hey, what happens if someone takes a hard foul on Nick Saban?
You said something earlier. You play basketball?
Yes, sir.
How often?
Well, we play from signing date until we start spring practice.
So you play a lot.
We play pickup at least 3 days a week. But I'm the commissioner of the league now. You know, at my age, I get to pick my team.
Uh-huh.
And then I pick the guy on the other team who guards me. So
which probably would be now as big and fat as I am.
No, you'd be on my team.
Oh, okay. Do you pass the ball?
Absolutely. I play the point. When Avery came here, you know, I know he played 13 years as a point guard, but when he came in, I said, look, if you want to play noontime basketball with us, you're going to have to move over off the ball because I'm the point guard. You're going to have to play two guard.
So you're just a passing guy. You're not a three-point shooter.
They didn't have a three-point shot when I played.
They have it now.
Yeah, but I can't shoot it. I mean, I grew up playing where you got to get a good shot.
What if somebody takes a hard foul on Coach Saban?
Oh, boy.
Well, most of the guys I'm playing with work for me.
Most of the guys I'm playing with work for me. So nobody's going to take a hard foul on Nick Saban. In fact, so basically you're put in a position where you can't win. You're the worst. You're the guy that Nick Saban has decided cannot guard him, and you can't foul him because you will be fired. What kind of double insult is that? How bad do you feel? You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, making me a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. We're going to talk about why your team stinks next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm Larry Daniels from Daniels Insurance, and on the average, our customers save $400 a year. We offer retirement vehicles and annuities in addition to other investment products that help you protect your family. Call 423-332-4774.
Order a 16-inch pizza at Toscano's Italian Grill and get a free 10-inch pizza. Toscano's, authentic Italian food, fresh-made ingredients and sauces. When you and your bambino sit down at Toscano Italian Grill, you're served by smiling people. They make you feel like part of the family. Toscano's is easy to find. It's in the recruiting center at 153 and Lee Highway. Toscano's, scrumptious pizzas made with fresh dough, come to you bubbling hot from an authentic brick oven. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and you'll get a free 10-inch pizza when you order a 16-incher. Heaping portions, friendly, 10:30 to 10:30, 7 days a week. Toscano delivers. 805-3888. Like us on Facebook. Ask about Toscano's app. Nobody does it better. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and you'll get a free 10-inch pizza with 2 toppings when you order a 16-incher. 805-3888. Nobody does it better.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
Any lingering showers will slowly diminish through the nighttime. Muggy overnight with some late fog, redeveloping lows 72 to 75 for Tuesday and Wednesday. Still a few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and thunder showers, otherwise very humid with highs upper 80s to around 90. This forecast is brought to you by the Hamilton Neurosurgery and Spine Center, now open in Calhoun, Georgia. Stop putting up with back pain. For more, their number 706-529-9041. And I'm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A child is missing in the Tennessee Valley out of Bradley County, and you could be the one to help find her. Officials say that 2-year-old Skylar Lachey Wilson went missing. She's 2 feet tall, 24 pounds. She was last seen on August 7, 2016 in Cleveland. She has brown hair and brown eyes. She's apparently with her non-custodial father driving a black Kia Soul, Tennessee tag V2631U. That's Tennessee tag V2631U. If you have any info, call the TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. Marquise Jackson, who's 24, was found dead on Water Street on Saturday night. Police got there when they got word of gunshots fired. They found the victim lying on the street, pierced by multiple bullets. He succumbed to his injuries in a pool of blood lying in the street. If you have any information, call 423-698-2525. Marquise Jackson killed on Water Street. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Make sure you like us on Facebook and follow us on the TuneIn Radio app on your smartphone.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hello, everybody. This is Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And we were talking about Nick Saban and Charles Barkley, Nick Saban and his noontime basketball games, and his philosophy on dealing with suspensions, which, to me, I think that part of the interview that could be a little bit underscored there. Charles Barkley was talking about Nick Saban giving young black men an opportunity and giving them a second chance, which, to be fair, and if you are black, I know you definitely feel this, that black men, especially young black men, do not get as long a leash as nearly everybody else does when it comes to making mistakes. When mistakes are seen as inherently part of your nature, whereas, you see other athletes, white athletes, not seen as having to take those same lumps it doesn't feel like. We were talking about the last season, Missouri Tigers. Matty Mock was dealing with allegedly, he was dealing with a drug issue of some kind, and as soon as he was done dealing with it, he was just sort of reinstated into the lineup, and that seems a little weird. And then he got suspended. It was just bizarre. It was just a bizarre thing there. And so when you talk about young black athletes getting a second chance, look, I get it. I think everybody deserves a second chance. However, you have to understand the difference between a privilege and a right. And I just don't think that everybody, depending on what you've done, what you've done and the weight of what you have committed does matter. Does matter. What you have done, if what you have done is bad enough to where you should be suspended or you should be cut from the team, you should just be cut from the team. Football is a privilege, not a right. So I thought that Nick Saban's statements about when your children disappoint you, do you kick them out of the house, would be a little inaccurate, because being in your parents' house, if you were a child, if you were a minor, that's a right. That's a right. You did not ask to be there. You were born and now you live there, and it's your parents' job to take care of you. If you disappoint them, they don't get to just kick you out the house. Okay, that's not okay. That's a right. Playing football, that's a privilege. And if you are, participating in behavior so extreme as to be arrested, as to not be able to participate in practices and things of that nature because you are under arrest, you're going to court for having drugs in your car and having unregistered weapons in your car. Like, you know what the law is. All right. You might not agree with what the law is, but you know what the law is. So you got to follow it if you are a football player. If you're anybody in particular, because that's going to get you kicked out of most jobs, to be honest with you. Not just football. It doesn't get to rehabilitate people at the cost of everybody else. Okay. You're Baylor. You're dealing with the rape scandal. Simply because you've got football players on the team and you're trying to rehabilitate guys doesn't mean that you get to hush rape victims. That's a slippery slope there of putting football above everything else. I'm focused on rehabilitating these guys. Some guys can be rehabbed, some guys cannot, and it is not football's job to rehab everybody. Sometimes you need to lose football and somebody else can work on you. Okay, the school has counselors. If you have to go to therapy for drug use or whatever it is, those people exist as well. There's no reason to hold up football high as the banner of going to fix young men, especially when those young men also coincide with helping you win games. Nick Saban has been criticized, and I have criticized him for this, of letting guys go because they're good. They're going to help him win football games. And he says he treats every case the same. But dude, you're Nick Saban. You coach Alabama. All the guys that you you coach can help you win football games. Like, all the guys you coach are really good. So, I mean, I don't necessarily buy that either. It's not like you're coaching at Toledo and you've got one star player and everybody else is average. Everybody's above average. I mean, it's not an incentive for you to let anybody go if you're Nick Saban. And then to say that and then have a case where a guy like Maurice Smith tells Nick Saban, I want to transfer from Alabama to Georgia. And Nick Saban's like, no, I'm not going to let you transfer inside the conference. I'm not going to let you transfer inside the conference. So what? It's about using football to help young men, except for when they're going to transfer inside the conference and might help you lose the competitive advantage that you've built up by going to a rival school. It's only about helping them until they're ready to transfer somewhere else. Then you deny their transfer. Then it's not about them. It's about winning. Nah, man. I think it's about winning all the time. I just think that's what it is. And you just got to be honest with yourself about that. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. We're going to do every day why your team stinks. We're going to pick a team in the SEC, presumably the worst team that we haven't covered yet, and go through why your team stinks and will not be winning the SEC this year. Today, the Missouri Tigers, because they're bad. They're really bad at football. They're possibly, to me, the worst team in the SEC. Now, you could argue Vanderbilt, but I really like the direction that Vanderbilt is headed in. You could argue Kentucky. Kentucky's kind of stable, like leveled out, but I like the direction they're headed in too. Here's why Missouri, to me, is the worst of why your team stinks. Missouri, despite having what I think is a very solid defense, Missouri's defense is very, very solid. They got no help whatsoever on offense. None. And that is because they have no running game to speak of, and they have no receivers. How good is Drew Lock? I don't think we'll know this season, to be honest. They need to get that guy somebody to throw the ball to. Will the receivers have experience this year? Because they were like mostly sophomores last year. Yeah, they'll have experience. Will that make them any good at football? I don't know, and I don't think so, because they weren't very good last year. And Drew Lock is out here completing less than 50% of his passes, and sometimes it doesn't look like it's his fault. I really like the guy. I think he's a very good football player. I think he's a very good quarterback. Mentally, certainly ahead of his age, he was thrown into the fire last year. We talked a little bit about Matty Mock being suspended for his alleged drug use, none of which was really ever talked about in the media. So I don't know exactly what it was that he was suspended for. But that being said, Drew Lock got tossed into the fire, and I thought he played surprisingly well given the circumstances. However, the circumstances were dire. The circumstances were bad. The receivers were bad. The O-line was bad. The running game was worse. It was horrible. It was possibly one of the worst offensive performances you've ever seen every week, with Missouri finding new ways to top themselves in not playing offense. Very rarely do you have a team with a really good defense and the offense doesn't support. Not in college football. In college football, it's usually the other way around. Teams can score bunches of points, but where's your defense? Your defense isn't anywhere. You're Houston. You're Texas Tech. You score lots of points. You don't play any defense. You're every team in the Big 12, basically. You're Baylor. You're TCU. You score a lot of points. You don't defend a soul. That's usually how it goes. Missouri's just got it all backwards. They play stellar defense. They defend the ball really well. They just can't score any points. And I can't even blame their quarterback. They just don't have anything on any of the other offensive positions on the field. And that's horrifying. Another reason why Missouri's going to stink this year is they're geographically challenged. Geographically challenged. You're in the SEC East. The SEC East in Missouri. Let me look at the teams in the SEC East and see how one of these things are not quite like the others. The SEC East has Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina, and Missouri. Missouri is further west than some of the teams in the SEC West. We got to realign this thing, man. Like there's a serious realignment situation that needs to happen because Missouri is farther west than Auburn and Alabama and Ole Miss and LSU and Texas A&M, Mississippi State. I mean, they're further west than most of the SEC West. Who did this? Like geographically, how much does that make any sense at all? It's like the NFL. You've got the NFC East. You've got the Redskins in Washington, D.C. You've got the Giants in New York. You've got the Eagles in Philadelphia. And then you just have the Dallas Cowboys in Texas for no reason. Like, how is that East? Think about it. Now, the Cowboys are there apparently for historical purposes. But Missouri hasn't always been in the SEC. They just got here. So why did we put them in the right division? That's another reason why Missouri stinks. Like, I just don't trust a team that can't be geographically placed in a way that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I'm not having it.
Not having it. That is ridiculous to me.
I'm not having it.
Oh my gosh. You're in Missouri. Anyhow, why your team stinks, the SEC edition, is led by Missouri. I don't know if I should have gone worst to best or best to worst with this list, but tomorrow we'll be unveiling, in my opinion, who is the second worst. This is my way of vaguely disguising, by the way, my power rankings. I don't like to do power rankings before we've even played a game of football. It really doesn't make any sense. I don't like preseason sports. I understand that this is the height of talking season. Like, we're just here to talk. But if I got to talk, I'm going to make fun of everybody on the way down. Because what you're asking me to do here is seriously rank things before anybody has played a snap of football. Like, every team goes through such high turnover in college football. It's ridiculous to rank them without seeing them play. Like, I like that the college football playoff committee, they don't release rankings until like halfway through the season. That's perfect. That's perfect. I don't want anybody trying to guess who's in the playoff by week 2. It's the most asinine thing I've ever seen. And everybody does it. And we're chomping at the bit for sports, and so we just do it. We just roll with it. But I'm at least going to make it fun for you guys if I have to do power rankings. I'm not saying that the word came from on top that I had to do power rankings. I'm just saying it has come to my attention that everybody likes power rankings of some kind. Like, just look it up. Go to any sports website and you'll have the power rankings of every conference. Every single conference. And for why, I have not the foggiest idea. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. The idea of Nick Saban and noontime basketball, is that not something you would like to participate in? This interview with Charles Barkley, the basketball part is the part that caught my interest the most, which, if you've listened to the show and you know about the constant and ceaseless moralizing that I do, I do like talking about Nick Saban's philosophy on suspending players, because I think that other coaches, I don't want to say they follow his lead, but Nick Saban is a guy that he's got a lot of influence in college football. Like, if you try and do things like Nick Saban does it, outside of shouting at the media and shaking your fist at them, like, outside of that, you're following a fairly good blueprint. You're following a fairly good blueprint. But suspending guys is something that I think that a lot of coaches don't do particularly well. Because when I call out Nick Saban, I'm not saying he's alone singularly in choosing to go with a guy that can help him win over suspending a guy for doing something wrong. Like, he deserves to be suspended whether he can help you win or not, if he's going to be rolling around in his car with drugs, drug paraphernalia, and unregistered weapons. I mean, you've got weapons in the car. If they're registered, you're good. One gun was registered. The other gun was not registered. And Cam Robinson isn't going to be suspended. And I think that matters. But you've got guys like Dan Mullen and the whole Jeffrey Simmons deal, where Jeffrey Simmons is caught on video punching a young woman on the ground in the face. He's punching her in the face. And he's huge, and she's not huge by virtue of not being a football player. How is that okay? I don't call out just Saban for this. I call out all coaches. How is that fine? And when you're Nick Saban and you've got Alabama and you're the dynasty, you're the benchmark. So, yeah, the target's going to be on your back a little bit. And despite how interesting that is, despite how interesting all of that is, Nick Saban talking about noontime basketball is possibly one of the most fascinating things I've ever listened to in my life. Nick Saban demands on being the point guard. That's what I learned today. Nick Saban demands on being the point guard and told Avery Johnson, who played in the NBA as a point guard for 13 years, yeah, you come over here, you're going to have to run that too. You're going to be playing off ball there, my friend. I got this. That conversation with Nick Saban and Avery Johnson, how do you think that went? Avery went, I'm the one with point guard experience, and Nick Saban said, I'm the football coach at Alabama. He's the most important person on campus. Like, how do you argue with Nick Saban? How do you look Nick Saban in the face, even as a basketball pro, in a situation where clearly, you have precedence. You have the most experience doing what you do at the professional level, and you coach the basketball team. That alone should allow you to choose whatever position you want. But no, man, you're not the most important guy on campus. That Nick Saban fella, he's the most important guy on campus, and he's not afraid to let you know it. He demands on playing point guard. That was one of my favorite things. Also, Nick Saban has been playing basketball since before the three-point line was invented. So you go ahead and let that soak in there. There was no three-point line when Nick Saban began playing basketball, and his criticism is that you don't just take threes. You have to learn to take good shots back when Nick Saban was learning how to play. So no, he never learned how to shoot threes. That's incredible to me. The backhanded criticism of today's basketball involved in the quote. I love it. Here's Nick Saban and Charles Barkley talking about Nick Saban's noontime basketball games.
You said something earlier. You play basketball?
Yes, sir.
How often?
Well, we play from signing date until we start spring practice.
So you play a lot?
We play pickup at least 3 days a week. But I'm the commissioner of the league now. At my age, I get to pick my team. And then I pick the guy on the other team who guards me. So
which probably would be now as big and fat as I am.
No, you'd be on my team.
Oh, okay. Do you pass the ball?
Absolutely. I play the point. When Avery came here, I know he played 13 years as a point guard, but when he came in, I said, look, if you want to play noontime basketball with us, you're going to have to move over off the ball because I'm the point guard. You're going to have to play two guard.
So you're just a passing guy. You're not a three-point shooter.
They didn't have a three-point shot when I played.
They have it now.
Yeah, but I can't shoot it. I mean, I grew up playing where you got to get a good shot.
What if somebody takes a hard foul on Coach Saban?
Well, most of the guys I'm playing with work for me. So you could get fired.
Is that what happened to Kirby Smart?
No. Hey, Kirby was always on my team.
Oh, okay.
Kirby could shoot.
Oh, okay. Hey, Coach, thank you for taking your time.
All right, Charles.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Like, too many things learned in that interview. Way too many things. Also, you can't take hard fouls on Nick Saban because most of the guys that play in the league work for it. Just Nick Saban with the ball under the basket, daring you to foul him. Daring you to foul him. Like, I will foul you. I will fire you. I will fire you. I will fire you faster than Donald Trump will fire you. I will fire you. And you just, no, Nick, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just going to allow that to happen because I really enjoy working here. No, Coach, go ahead. And also, Kirby Smart's a shooter, which I'm not going to lie. I did not look at Kirby Smart and go, you know what? That guy's got range. Not at all the first thought that jumped into my head. Hey, Kirby, this dude's got range. No. Defensive-minded football coach. I'm not thinking that he's got range. I'm not going to look at him and go, yeah, that guy's pulling it from deep. Apparently, you want Kirby Smart on your team because Kirby Smart could really shoot. My other question is, what does Lane Kiffin do? Does Kiffin play? Does he play? How much trash do you imagine Lane Kiffin talks when he's out there playing basketball? How much trash do you imagine Lane Kiffin talks? Because I imagine it's an unreasonable amount. Just given his penchant for talking trash in football and in his actual life, and when he just decides to wake up in the morning and tweet stuff, I have to imagine that it is an astronomical amount of garbage that Lane Kiffin is talking. It has to be. There's no other way. Because that man doesn't know how to stop talking trash. Now, I don't know if he plays basketball or not. I'm just saying. If he did, and if he's out there, he's talking trash. However, work for Nick Saban. You don't get to talk trash to him. He's the commish. He's the commish of the entire league. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Another daily reminder that the Olympics are still a shambles. However, since the events have begun, a lot of the events have been very exciting. The U.S. apparently very good at gymnastics. And in doubles tennis, Serena and Venus lost doubles tennis in the Olympics. Not in the Olympics. Serena and Venus lost doubles tennis in the Olympics for the first time in history. They've never lost. That's incomprehensible. I mean, that just tells you, man. I mean, they're getting up there in age. The Williams sisters. I mean, the Father Time is undefeated, and he's catching up. He's catching up. I don't know how long it's going to be before Father Time catches up to Serena, because Serena's still out here just destroying stuff. But Father Time is catching up, and Father Time caught up to Venus a little while ago, but they were still dominating the doubles. The day that Serena and Venus lose the doubles, I mean, well, that's the day I stopped watching doubles tennis, because that's about the most interesting thing in doubles tennis is watching the two of them play. They're so amazing together. But also, that's a day that seems apocalyptic for tennis, does it not? It seems a little bit apocalyptic for tennis. And then you've got the swimming. Michael Phelps, 19th gold medal. And how does he do it? He does it in the relay. Michael Phelps gets his 19th gold medal in the relay off a crazy turn. He turned, and then I don't know the swimming terminology, but he didn't even start going into his stroke. He just moved his body like some kind of large fish man and took the lead, held off Australia, and helped us secure the 19th gold medal. He wasn't even supposed to be on the relay team. A lot of people criticized him, and he's the reason they won. You've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. I'll see you in 24 hours. Stick around. Sons of Liberty next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
With every election, the government always gets in. You're right to be angry. We have no free market. Red tape everywhere. Taxes crushing. There's no level playing field. Tomorrow may be a day of reckoning. But there is